Hello guys, I've had plenty of people ask, so I wanted real quick to go over some of the best builds to bring into the next dungeon, Sundered Doctrine. I'm not gonna do a video like I usually do, where let's say we go over every single build for every class, even with my teammates, because we're a bit short on time since there is a lot of things to farm, and also because the builds are pretty much the exact same as they were for Vesper's Host. So like if you wanna see what mods to put on in your armor and stuff like that, you should probably just watch the Vespers video, because yeah, the mods didn't change at all. Like the sandbox changes they did were pretty much pointless when it comes to changing the meta, and so it's like what was good, what was bad is probably still bad, for the most part at least. To give a recap anyways, in case you don't want to watch the Vespers video, Titans are gonna go in with Consecration, most likely. So like Prismatic. Yes, it got nerfed. No, it didn't do anything. It's actually better now, because it lost some wave damage, but Amplified got buffed to give DR. And now you dodge bullets better when you have it, so I think the build is actually better. And there is unironically less of a reason to run Solar Titan now, because Solar Titan was safer. It is now less safer, since now Prismatic is more safe, so yeah. I think Titans are gonna just play Prismatic. I can see some very, very weird exceptions where you use Solar, but all if you really need a Kneeling Nade. And if Lord of Wolves doesn't get disabled, I could see running Bubble, because with Bubble you could run... there's an exotic that buffs your shotgun damage, I don't remember which one it is. But I'm sure there is. Is it same 14? It probably isn't. I swear there is an exotic. It's not backup plans, right, actually? Yeah, okay. So you would run this if Lord of Wolves isn't disabled, but I strongly doubt that. Anyways. Warlocks will just play Solar and Speaker Sight. There is an honorable mention to be made for Warlocks real quick. I don't know if I'll add that tiny section at the end of the video for it, but they buffed Geomags like a lot, and now you get insane chunks of super energy when you pick up an Ionic Trace. And you can use it with or without Delicate Tomb. It pairs very well with it, since it makes a lot of Ionic Traces. Either way, you get your Chaos Reach back in like 5 kills. It's crazy. I still think it's not safe to use, because you're playing Arc in a contest scenario, and you probably get fried depending on what kind of enemies you're gonna encounter. But it's worth like noting that this is like a new thing that's not completely troll, even because Chaos Reach got roughly a 30% buff this patch overall, so yeah. It's like usable, but mostly it's gonna be Warlock with Speaker Sight the whole time, so you can spam, your healing turrets with Benevolence, and then for damage, if the damage phase is very safe, you can use Sanguine. And you can use Luna Factions on Warlock, in case you need range, in case you're using Lord of Wolves, because it doubles your range, so that's pretty important. When it comes to Hunters, well, it's gonna be fairly simple. Like, Hunters have a bit more variety than other classes. They can play both Solar, Prismatic, and Void. But you're probably gonna be playing Prismatic, let's be real. For a couple of reasons. I mean, it's probably the best class overall. And, you have the exotic class items that are very good. My suggestion to fly in with will be to use the Sight Arachne, I think it's called. I don't remember how it's pronounced. Sight Arachne, whatever. And Oil, because, Woven Mail is broken. Oil means more grenades, so more Woven Mail. And you probably don't go wrong with that. You can use so many things on it, right? You can use, like, I don't know, probably your Falcons. You can use Synthos for your Threaded Spike. There are many things you can use, but for the most part, I would say Sight Arachne Oil is gonna be a good bet for like mechanic phases or non-boss encounters. The non-boss encounters you just swap to Nighthawk, right? Like the classic Nighthawk DPS phase. Anyways, so this was a nice recap of like what the other classes, or every class can run. But again, if you look at the Vespers video, it's a bit more in-depth, and I'm fairly sure it's similar for most things. The meta really did not change. Now, I wanna talk about weapons and seasonal mods, because I feel like that's the main thing that changed and the main thing you guys are probably interested in. And when it comes to seasonal mods, void weapons are probably the strongest this season, right? There are 3 mods for void weapons, okay? And well, if you plan to use void weapons, you should probably have those on, and you should either way probably run void weapons this season, like they're gonna be very good. For boss encounters, it's nice if at least one in your team has unraveling orbs, so you can proc unraveling on a boss. Of course, that requires a strand weapon though, which is something you need to account for, but probably nice to proc unraveling somehow if you don't have another way to do it. It's free, like, passive damage, and in a 3-man scenario, it's more valuable than it is in a raid, right? Because this damage is static, and so with less people, that's better in perspective. Then on the artifact, I mean, I think this is the best artifact we've ever got. Like, let's be real, so many mods are good. Usually, I'm not starving for points. Right now, I am, especially on the earlier columns. This mod doesn't do anything, by the way. Like, the Vogue weapons get more damage, 15% more by just using your super, so by proccing the trait, whether you have the mod or not. Probably a bug, but the mod is useless. I would suggest running this one anyways, for sure. I think this Raptor Spike might be the best mod in the artifact, because it improves Exhaust and Sever. I think it improves them by 25%. But still, like, Exhaust and Sever are already some of the most broken things in the game, so making them stronger is just free, right? Exhaust is the damage reduction that you apply by overloading a target, for those that aren't familiar with it, like they just gave it a name. I'm also running this one. Defeating exhausted or severed targets with an arc damage reduces a blinding burst. You don't have to run this, but I'm on Titan, so I have knockout, I can arc melee. And, I mean, I think it's gonna be nice, you know? If targets are gonna be severed. And I think targets are gonna be severed because one of the main jobs of your hunter, if he's on Prismatic, is gonna be to throw his threaded spike around, right? And to sever things, because sever is really, really good. I might be wrong on the numbers, by the way, but they should be mostly right. Now, this mod isn't bad if you're using a machine gun, and I think you should be using a machine gun. Like, if you're not in a boss encounter, have a machine gun on. Why should you have a machine gun on? Because you can get 25% DR by shooting a machine gun for free with this mod. So this one stays on, like this mod does not go off. I think the mod is bugged. I think it doesn't give you grenade regen like it says, only melee regen, but you do not care about that part. You care about getting the DR. And you get it either by shooting your machine gun a bit or by hitting 2 rockets, I think. Either way, it's like extremely good. Only situation where you don't run this is if you're running a linear. In which case you can't really proc it, so I mean, yeah. Feel free to take it off. 4th column, this special finisher I think works on yellow bars, so it's very nice to have on. This is nice with void weapons, you know. Some weakening. I think Flashover is the best one. I think you should have this one on. I mean, I guess it depends. If you can't get any bolt charge stacks, then it doesn't matter, right? But if your build uses bolt charge, then have it on. I've heard it's like a crazy buff to bolt charge. I think someone said like more than twice the damage. I don't know if that's true. Either way, even just the fact that you become amplified is crazy, right? Like I'm playing Arc Titan, I can pick up orbs, I become amplified, like mid damage without killing anything. That's crazy, right? Because amplified now gives DR. So probably have this on. This mod DR is worth noting, like damaging unraveled targets, occasionally spawns straddling. It's some like free passive damage. And I mean, if you're using unraveling orbs and the boss is unraveled, I think you might as well have this. Now, I don't know if this mod works with like 1 or 3 people. Like, I don't know if 3 people having this mod would make 3 times the treadlings. So maybe let me know in the comments if anyone tested it. But if you have like a slot and you don't want to run like this one, or you don't want to run like this one, or you really don't need specials and you want to take this one off, like feel free to put it on, I guess. This one about glaives, I feel like it's gimmicky, like I'm not gonna block with a glaive. I've heard it's like a crazy damage buff, but I am not gonna block with a glaive, I'm sorry. Particle deconstruction, of course, that's like extremely good. And this can make the dungeon be a linear meta easily. Now, the thing is, it doesn't stack with 30% debuffs, so you can't use Tractor and you cannot use Tether if you're running this. Keep it in mind. You can use Weaken though, and you should use Weaken. And I feel like weakening and keeping weaken up is going to be one of the main skills to have in this race, because there is no easy mod, right? We don't have like breach and clear or anything to like weaken. So you're going to have to have a plan to weaken. I'll elaborate on that a bit later, but yeah, I have this on if you're using linears or fusions, and yeah. Now, I don't know how it works exactly with other stuff like div. Like, I have to like test the specific interactions better, but because I was seeing some weird numbers, but yeah, like obviously particle is extremely good. I don't think this mod really matters. Ironically, 5th column is worse than 4th and 3rd column. I don't know why. This one is very good. This one is very good if there are champions, right? I think, but I don't think there are gonna be champions in the dungeon, so probably don't need this. And Void Flux is nice, I think, but I also don't think it matters. Like, there are probably better things you can run, even on like 3rd and 4th column. Like, if you end up running a machine gun, like having this mod on could really be good, right? I don't know how much dealing is. I haven't tested too much, but I'm sure it's nice. Anyways, this was a nice recap of the artifact. So what happened overall, like if you want to talk about weapons, right, which is the main thing, I think, since Vespers had like very tight damage checks, so it's important to know what's good, what's not. It's worth noting that autoloading is disabled. Yes, it's nerfed. Yes, many weapons don't use it anymore. Like Evi's evolved into using Envious Arsenal for the most part, but that's not really true for like special weapons, right? Often, and like stuff like Widowed or like Lost Signal got nuked by having autoloading disabled. Now, I'm not even sure if like Widowed will have autoloading disabled, but I think so, because when they nerfed autoloading, it also got nerfed on Widowed, so I don't see why it wouldn't share the same fate. Anyways, talking about weapons, Era denial GLs are good, you know? I mean, we know. They charge Transcendence hella fast, they do good passive damage, they're good for red clear, they're good at everything, right? Crazy super regens and everything. Quire of 1 is one of the best weapons in the game. Like, if you can, you should probably run it. Like, if you need to select a special weapon in your energy slot, it's like, might as well, right? Now, the Anima Column is pretty bad. I don't even know if I would run this with double specials. You can definitely run like an End Cannon, like Fatebringer, Midnight Coup. You can run Vulpecul if you want shoot to loot. But yeah, if you can manage your ammo, like the gun is very good. You should not be hip firing too often, I don't think. Because yeah, it's nice, but only do it if you really need to, because the aim down sight damage is like crazy good too, and very good at clear, so like you know, don't like slip on it so you don't like burn your ammo too fast. Also, I have one slowed on, but I was doing Solotanics. I'm pretty sure I should put the stabilizing on. And yes, I know you can get the stabilizing from the artifact, but it's like, do you really want to like rely on the artifact? Maybe it's just nice to like have it as a perk, so it's like more uptime. I don't know. I'll have to like think about it. I'm just giving like ideas. I haven't like decided everything yet, right? But I want to get the video out if I can. Then, you know, the Attrition Arms GL, one of the most broken things in the game. If you pair this with like some like Invigoration or Innervation on your legs, like, actually, I like to run Invigoration and Absolution. Every time you pick up those orbs, it's like crazy ability regen, like super nice. There is a new Era Denial too. I think this is the best roll you can get, Envious, Elemental Owning, but maybe there are other good rolls, like nice to have. I don't know if I'm gonna end up using those, I'm just saying like, you know, they're good. I don't know why I have this sniper here, I haven't like managed my inventory yet. I'm pretty sure the Garden Sniper is better though if you have it craftable. Rocket Sidearms are still good. Now, I thought they were gonna get like a big nerf against bosses. I have heard that's not what happened. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard they didn't actually get the roughly 40% nerf they should have got. It's more like 10 on bosses. You guys can fact check that, I'm not sure. Many of the info I have are like from Twitch chat, so it's like, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not, you know. But they're still good anyways, just probably don't use them on bosses. But, you know, I guess you guys weren't gonna do that anyways, right? I'm just saying, like, keep an eye on them because they're still good. I'll definitely have, I think I'll try to bring the Call on my kinetic slot, or even the Stasis one, like Tinasha's. I have to decide yet, but I think a Rocket Sidearm, like, ready in case you want to use it is probably nice. Lord of Wolves is broken, like, I think this is getting disabled, but if it doesn't, well, hip fire and have fun. Like, the gun is so broken that it might actually be worth it running a div in a 3-man scenario just to hit your shots, because, like, it's actually disgusting. But for DPS and total. I don't know why I have this here, like, I was testing stuff, don't worry about it. Anyways, the energy slot is, like, important, you wanna talk about it, because it's important to keep up weekend, right? As I said, especially if you're running linears, like, if it's a linear meta, you wanna be keeping weekend up. And the thing is, obviously depends on the comp you run, right? But I'm Titan, I can't really weaken. Your Warlock is probably on speaker side, he can't really weaken. Your Hunter should be on the duty, but it's like, what can he do? He has a smoke bomb if he wants to have that, but he probably doesn't want to run it during encounter, so he would have to swap, and then you don't have a melee when damage starts, right? Yes, you can transcend, but what if you don't have transcendence, right? And then the Hunter can also have like a void nade, I suppose, but then if you transcend, you don't have it. So it's like, keeping weaken up is very important. It's free damage, but it's sketchy. And at this point, I think Withering Gaze comes in play. And this perk is weird because you have to like aim down sight for a bit to proc it. So you can't shoot, you can't do damage for a bit, right? And it only lasts 6 seconds, so you have to keep reapplying it. Which means I don't think it's very applicable, right? On most weapons, like, especially on primaries, if you're wasting DPS time to like reapply weaken every 6 seconds, yes, you're keeping weaken up, but you're probably not doing anything, so like, probably not worth it. The exception though would be on weapons with a charge time, on like a linear or a fusion. The fusion from Vespers can get it. I want to farm it now actually before the dungeon. Because you can start holding your like left click when the Withering Gaze is proccing. So if you learn the timing, you don't have to aim down sight for a while, but you can actually aim down sight just for a bit and then you start charging your bolt, right? Withering Gaze will proc and then you will fire, so you weaken. So like if we end up damaging with linears and we don't have a div, and we all 3 are on linears, there is no reason why I shouldn't be on this linear, right? Like, my 2 teammates can run whatever they want. Queensbreaker, Scintillation. I don't have a Scintillation, I was lazy, I didn't farm, my bad. But, I mean, I don't have one with Rewind Bait. Since I have this roll, I think I'm gonna run this and like, on my first shot, I'm gonna like hold a second, then shoot, so I weaken, and then I fire like 3 shots, and then again I like hold a second, and then like shoot. So I can keep weaken up pretty easily without like a massive DPS loss, right? So keep an eye on Withering Gaze. Like again, I'm not saying it's the only way to weaken. There are other ways to weaken. If your Hunter locks in, you can weaken. If your Warlock is playing Prismatic, you can transcend and weaken. But your Warlock probably shouldn't be playing Prismatic. Anyways, you know, it's gonna be something to like keep in mind for sure. Then if the damage phase is short, it's gonna be very easy, right? But I'm preparing for a scenario where the damage phase is hella long, right? Like Puppeteer. Because dungeons tend to have longer damage phases than raids. Or I mean, I guess they have the possibility to get more creative, right? And do more extended phases because, I don't know, they're less strict on mechanics, they're something you can solo, so I feel like they tend to have like very long phases or phases where you damage a lot. Like, even think about final boss on Warlord's Ruin, right? The phase itself is short, but you're technically damaging the boss like 3 times, and then there is like a mini final stand on those 3 platforms. So like, you know, keeping the debuff up the whole time if you only have a smoke bomb is sketchy, right? So I have some other plans. Like, it's worth noting that like, I mean, you can't rely on this because you don't know if there are gonna be ads in the boss room, but Buried Bloodline after you proc Devour can weaken, like, that's good, right? And the gun is also good in general, like, just to proc Devour, so like, you know, there are some options that can weaken. Probably wouldn't use Collective Obligation, but it exists. Slayer's Fang also exists, probably wouldn't use it. Yeah, I mean, I could go over other exotics that are good this season. Cloud Strike is good. You know, very good. Total damage DPS. I don't know if you're gonna use it when it's a bit of a linear meta. It got forced into us with Particle since it's a 27% free damage, but it is definitely a bit of a linear meta, especially in a 3-man, where, you know, running something like Tractor in a 3-man is already sketchy, so you will probably have a weaken anyways, and with Particle not stacking with 30% debuffs makes it like very, very interesting. Yeah, I mentioned Div in case you're using Lord of Wolves. Kinetics, I don't think you're gonna use easy. Outbreak is a weapon to always have on hold, right? Because in case you're out of ammo, it's not bad. Lumina is a bit sketchy, but it's there. It exists. Without auto-loading is probably a no-go. And then what else is there? I wouldn't use Banner of Wars on Navigator. Forerunner isn't bad. Like, unironically, if there is like some Tormentor boss that moves like a freak, and you run out of heavy, swapping to a loadout with triple kinetic surge and Forerunner, it's not the worst thing in the game. I think 140 Sniper have like better DPS, but I mean, I might be wrong, but I think they do. But Forerunner is just so much easier to use that it could be like an option, right? And then Elfin is worth noting. Well, the gun is very good. It's a linear, so particle. I don't know though how good it is, considering, you know, like swapping to it if you're out of heavy is sketchy because then you will have 0 stacks, and unless you're running a Strand Warlock, you don't have the Threadling sight. So it's a weapon that, like, it exists, keep it in mind, but you're probably not using it. Like, it's probably easier to like swap to a 140 Sniper, like the Vogue one that has crazy perks. I don't know though, maybe this linear is that much better than the Vogue Sniper with Particle, then it is worth it. I haven't really run the number. I guess you guys can like mess with it if you want. I know many of those things like are not, I'm not giving you an actual answer, but that's because there are so many like good options and the meta shifted so much in certain aspects that like I actually just haven't tested everything, right? I was farming stuff. So I'm sorry if it's not super precise, but I'm trying to like give you my thought process and like some ideas, right? Then you guys can obviously decide depending on the encounter and everything. Alert on him is like, I think it got fixed on immune bosses. It's still usable, of course, but probably better options. When it comes to heavies, probably not Tractor and a 3-man. Sleeper is usable, but I think there are better options. Whisper is a good weapon, but in a linear, like with linear so good, I don't think there is a reason to. Anarchy got nerfed due to them nerfing GLs, I think. I think it got nerfed too, so probably not the best. Zeno is always good for red clear. Like, wouldn't use it on a boss though. Like, on a non-boss encounter, it's good. I don't know if it procs the seasonal mod for the DR. If it does, that's very good. Something to test. It should though. Thunderlord is good. Like, I think it got buffed a bit, right, with the bolt charge changes. Probably wouldn't use it for DPS, but if you have an exotic slot that's free and you're on a red clear encounter, I mean, go for it, right? Then Queensbreaker is extremely good. I think Queensbreaker is pretty much the same or better DPS than any other linear in the game. If you have the Catalyst, that's rewind rounds. You can farm it in custom games if you haven't. Like, you just go to a custom game, select Collision as a game mod, put the score at 5, like low, quick flag caps, and you just profit, you know? Takes a bit of games, but it's nice to have. I will definitely farm for the Catalyst if you don't have it. You have to run the second scope, the burst one that got buffed and now lets you like shoot faster after you hit some crits. Yeah, so I have this. And then there is a point to be made though about burst linears. That doesn't go only for Queensbreaker, but even for, I don't know, even for the Strand or Void one I was showed earlier, or even for like Euphony. Like, burst linears are, I think, better than regular linears right now, but they are sketchy to use. Like, let's be real. They have more total in general, right? Because they do more damage per shot, but hitting all 3 the shots of your burst is weird, right? So if the boss is big, if you're shooting like Templar or Witness, that's fine. If the boss is that Scion that we saw on the trailer, and the crit isn't his back, it's probably less fine, right? So like, even if linears in theory are very good, you gotta like consider, am I gonna hit my shots? Because if you aren't gonna hit your shots, then the theoretically higher DPS might not really help, right? If you're missing like 30% of your balls. So like, you know, keep in mind the linears are very good, but like decide based on the scenario. Probably not gonna use wards. Gully is weird because the Vogue Rocket is so good, but running Gully in a 3-man is kinda troll. I think you can run it, but I think if you run it, you put the guy that's on Gully on the Withering Gaze. So you have that guy like on Gully and debuff duty. I think that's my idea. Parasite, nice for short phases. Ground Overture, it's probably nice, but linears are so good that I don't know if it's gonna get a use. Dragon's Bright is always nice, but there are probably better options now. Like, it's crazy on long damage phases, and if the boss is big, but I don't know. I don't know. Keep it in mind, like, it's a good weapon, right? It's a good weapon. Like, remember how good it was on the second boss on Warlord's Ruin? Like, on a long phase, it can cook. You can use this with, like, a Cartesian, so the Cartesian gets particle. Like, it's probably nice. Macrocosm is disabled, so we don't talk about that. Now, I already talked about the weapon meta a bit. Other honorable mentions, I guess, are... the Vogue weapons are crazy, right? Like, when you super... I don't remember for how long, for like 15 or 20 seconds, your mag size, like, it reloads your weapon, then your mag size doubles. Like, which is crazy. And you also get like 15% damage buff, which is even more crazy. But your mag size being double means that on Izen, whenever you like proc Envious, you reload to 2. So you can fire 2 rockets with it, which is insane. You can dump all your rockets in like less than 15 seconds. Like, so this is the only reason I think why you would ever consider a rocket, right? Like, with linears getting buffed by 10%, particle coming in the game, and GLs getting a 10% nerf, it was looking like a linear meta. Also because linears are often safer, right? The only downside will be like getting back to full ammo on linears isn't too good because you don't get too much from bricks, right? I think this rocket is the only reason why you could maybe use a rocket and not a linear. Like, it's just so crazy. Like, you can run bait and switch here, by the way. You don't have to run elemental owning. On Prismatic Titan, I think elemental owning is better. I'll explain why. It's because I can shoot my stasis weapon or throw a Glacial Nade. Then I Thunder Crash, so that's stasis and arc. Then as soon as I land, I'm not gonna die because I have 50% DR from Curious, right? And then I strand melee the boss, so that's strand. And I already proc 3 elements, and the boss is severed, so I'm not gonna take any damage. And then I can swap to my Void weapon, whether that's Squire or the Void fusion with Withering Gaze. I shoot, that's Void, and then I start firing the rocket, and that's Solar. At that point, I have 22 seconds of like X5 of this, which is 35%. And yeah, it's only 5% more than bait, but it applies to every rocket. While bait, you would miss it on at least 2 rockets, right? When you have to reproc. And so it's very nice. I'm probably running this if I run Prismatic and bait if I run Solar, if I end up running the rocket. But it's looking more like a linear angle. I'm just saying like it's an option. I farm for the bipod swap, not because you can actually swap and keep your rockets, but because having it on, you get more rockets from bricks. Unfortunately though, it seems like you get the same amount from finders. It's only 1 more rocket from regular bricks. And you also have the downside that you could grab a brick when you're already past 9, which is your max amount of rockets without bipod. So I don't even know if I'm gonna do the bipod swap. I'm saying it's there, but yeah. Maybe not even worth it. Anyways. Yeah, the roles for these are Envious, Elemental Owning or Envious Bait. And you also have the Vogue Sniper, right? I can craft it too, I'll craft this probably, but you can run Tremor's Bait. Obviously, only one person can run Tremor, but... And yeah, I know you don't have a reload perk, but, you know, double damage perk is crazy, right? And you can also run 4 times Bait, or I think Rewind Bait. You have so many options, like this is the best sniper in the game. This also can get the damage buff by supering. Even if you run this, you're probably running the rocket too, and you probably use all your trait for dumping your rockets, right? Like, I doubt you end up, so to say, wasting it on the sniper, right? Like, you want to get your rockets out. Anyways, very good option. What did I miss? Did I miss anything? Eager Edge for non-boss encounters and transitions, especially on Titan, is very good, of course. I'm keeping Parasite on, you never know, like... I have a GL here, I might not need it, but it's there. Probably never using this, probably never using Whisper. What else? I don't know. I feel like I went over most things on the weapon meta, but yeah, like... If it's a linear angle, guys, I think you use Queen's Breaker. If you don't want to use Queen's Breaker, you can use... scintillation. Many of you have it, like I don't, but I know many of you like farm for it, right? I think the best roll here is bait rewind rounds. Even if you don't have a reload perk, like it's not the worst thing in the game without. You can get firing line too, but firing line is a bit worse. It's only 20%. Because, you know, reloading a linear isn't too bad in general. Then particle reloads. I don't know how much it reloads, but it helps a bit. And then both Mistral Lift and Scintillation have also Vist Stinger, which reloads a bit. So like, as long as you have a linear with bait and it's a burst linear, I think that's good. Because, I don't know, non-burst linears just aren't very good right now, I don't think. And it's like something like Cataclysmic, which was the, you know, old best in slot. It's just weird to use, right? You would have to use 4 times bait, but if you miss a shot, then you don't proc the extra 4 times, and then you have to reload, like, I don't know. Like, damage phases are becoming so mobile that, like, relying on perks like triple tap or 4 times is sketchy. Like, think on Puppeteer trying to proc 4 times the charm, like, it's over, right? You're gonna miss all your shots. And yeah, on Puppeteer you probably also wouldn't, like, hit all 3 the shots of a burst linear, but again, you just have to, like, see how it feels and then decide from there. Maybe it's just gonna be a Thunderlord angle, maybe the boss is gonna be hard to hit, it's gonna be that Scion, and we just go crazy with Thunderlord, like, who knows. Okay, I think I went over everything. Like, I'm not gonna re-explain the things, like, so to say, how to play the game. So, like, you know, special finisher, then on your damage loadout, you have surges and time dilation, you know, like, this is classic stuff that I repeat in every video. If you wanna, like, see how to set up mods for, like, mechanics and damage loadouts, you go and check, I think, the Vesper video, since it should cover almost everything, okay? But yeah, I wanted... the main thing I wanted to do was an artifact discussion, a weapon meta discussion, and I think I did a solid job overall. I hope the video wasn't boring, and I hope it was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you still found it useful, even if we didn't go the regular route of, like, showing every mod and stuff like that. But again, I'm a bit short on time, and on top of that, it's really very similar to Vespers. So yeah, I feel like this was pretty decent to have, like, a general idea. Let me think if there are any weapons I missed that are, like, worth mentioning, but I don't think so, really. There is the Gaussian Cannon that's, like, void, so again, since it's a very void heavy season, that's nice if you want to use a primary on your energy slot. Yeah, I don't know. I think I did cover almost everything. If I miss something, like, super important, I might just type it in the comments and I'll let you guys know. Yeah, as you can see, about the Stormtrooper set is so funny. Anyways, good luck to everyone racing for the dungeon, and good luck to everyone just going for the emblem, going for the clear. I hope it's a good dungeon, I hope it's a good time. Yeah, I mean, Vespers was awesome. Now, this dungeon, I'm not sure if it's gonna be as awesome, because I feel like the trailer was a bit more underwhelming. They didn't show as much. Maybe they didn't show as much because they wanna, like, keep it hidden because it's crazy, right? Maybe we're gonna fight the Worm God, who knows. So let's hope it's good. Let's hope we have a good time, and yeah, that's it. My stream is probably gonna be blurred and muted, like, during raids, because it's getting serious. So I kind of have to do that, but I will, within 12 hours, as always, upload my full clear with comms and no blurs and, you know, everything, like you guys know. It is how it is, unfortunately. That's kind of like the racing meta, but yeah. So I'll catch you guys on Twitch if you aren't racing, and yeah, I don't know. If you are racing, good luck again. See you guys. Thanks for watching.